Top of the morning, afternoon, or evening to all of my gents and practitioners. Welcome back to this thing of ours. I'm your host, Neil K. Marcellus, and these are the Chronicles of Gameology. And yeah, that's checkmate. For those that don't know, in the culture, there is a term that speaks to a criteria hung over the heads, more or less, of those standing strong and mighty, declaring that they are certified and valid to be recognized as a boss. But this criteria and term that I just alluded to is the expression money, power, respect, made popular at least to the square world and mainstream by the hip-hop trio better known as the Locks, who delivered that pounding and verbal ass whooping to Dipset in that iconic versus matchup. All of my hip-hop heads know exactly what I'm talking about, but the phrase money, power, respect is a cultural mantra that speaks to the understanding, like the lyrics to the song clearly points out. First you get the money, then you get the fucking power, and after you get the fucking power, motherfuckers will respect you. However, there's more to this that's lurking in the shadows and not very clear to most individuals. And if you haven't been properly laced up on how the playbook truly works, then most likely you have a cliche understanding of what this phrase truly entails. Most people think, especially a lot of men, think that being a boss is all about beating one's chest harder and louder than the next individual. Basically, it becomes the equivalent of trying to be the fastest gun in the West. As soon as you advertise that you are the fastest, then everyone else would call your bluff and want to schedule a little meetup at high noon and challenge you to a shootout. Now, in the interest of clarity and disclosure, having money and power does not secure and guarantee that others will fork over unquestionable loyalty and respect. Case in point, remember that time Jeff Bezos, who by the way is worth about $100 billion, but a chick he was dating, and supposedly now the same chick he is intending on wifing up. But remember when she was caught on camera being all goo-goo-eyed and falling all over a top-notch A-list actor in Hollywood, as this video is now showing? Yeah, money and power is working real well for him, I can see. Like a seasoned OG told me long time ago, in my early development within this street philosophy referred to as the concept called game. But he said to me, acknowledgement, some encouraging words, and respect, the first two you can give, but the last one, respect, only you and your devotion to this game can earn you its reward. For this reason that I just stated, that's why this street philosophy is not a speculative sport. It doesn't deal in dating tips and dating advice as some teeny bopper type ass shit. It's all about the knowledge of managing and upgrading and how to oversee and control the mechanisms of change. Like I have said on many occasions in other episodes of the Chronicles of Gameology, life is governed by conflict, competition, and illogical occurrences. And like they would say in the Italian mafia, this requires a consigliere, a problem solver. One thing that is not thoroughly understood by most individuals, but is common knowledge among practitioners of this craft, and that is the keen understanding that a problem cannot be solved and untangled at the same level where it was initially created. So the question now becomes, if being a boss from an authentic street perspective doesn't come down to how hard one beats their chest, then there must be something else that brings about the legitimacy of being a stand-up, 10 toes down certified boss. But now, don't get it twisted. Money, power, and respect plays a part in establishing one's legitimacy in being a boss. But what actually it comes down to is the conundrum regarding the chicken and the egg argument, which is a dilemma surrounding the enigma that all chickens are produced from eggs. And by the same token, all chicken eggs are laid by chickens. Producing the head-scratching question if money, power, and respect doesn't grant an individual the authority to be a boss from a gameologist and a street perspective, and money, power, and respect doesn't prevent a man from receiving the Jeff Bezos treatment, where a chick would put the man she is with on blast and make a mockery out of him by swarming all over some other man right in front of his face, then what does? So the answer to this question from a gameologist and a street perspective is that an individual must be street savvy, because like I stated earlier in this podcast, the chessboard of life is saturated with conflict, competition, and illogical occurrences, and that the concept of game isn't a spectator sport. It doesn't deal in dating tips and dating advice. It's all about attaining dominion and mastery over the chessboard of life, which encompasses the social dynamic, regardless if you're talking about economics, politics, or intimate or casual and professional relationships. And so, being street savvy grants a practitioner the skill set and craftsmanship to be a bosszilla. And don't take this to mean that a bosszilla is one who is tyrannical and dictatorial. No, sir. You see, being a bosszilla comes down to a practitioner who thoroughly understands the Bushido of the streets. In other words, the G code. And the one in particular that pertains to this concept being examined, which is the concept of being a bosszilla. But this code, it goes like this. Trust is earned. Respect is always given. And loyalty, it has to be demonstrated. To violate any of these three, trust, respect, and loyalty, is to lose all three. So by having game, which by the way cannot happen if one isn't street savvy, but a bosszilla develops the know-how on how to light the fire, so to speak, in others. So they are encouraged at implementing and adhering to this G code I just got through mentioning, which centers around the principles of trust, respect, and loyalty. Now, let me divulge on how exactly this is achieved. I have already revealed how beating one's chest doesn't solidify one's position at being a boss by highlighting this Jeff Bezos entanglement, which exposes a man's hand and his vulnerabilities. Speaking of hands, on this channel, I use the principles embedded into the games of chess and poker to highlight how those same principles are deeply rooted into the street philosophy referred to as the concept called game. Because chess and poker are ancient cosmologies that has many secrets tucked away within their makeup. Therefore, using poker as an example to highlight how a practitioner from an authentic street perspective goes about establishing themselves as a legitimate bosszilla, and also how to prevent themselves from being a casualty that tripped up and snagged Jeff Bezos, as this video is clearly and painfully showing. Then sit back and get a load of this pearl of wisdom I'm about to drop on you. In the game of poker, a top-notch poker player's main objective is to evaluate if their hand that was dealt to them within a round of poker, how most likely will it perform, either negatively or positively, against their opponent's hand, who they are tussling and competing against. This evaluation is done against what is called the range, which is the 10 possible poker hands that can be made from a pack of cards, numbering 52 in your standard deck of playing cards. And to emphasize and highlight as to what I said earlier, this street philosophy, referred to as the concept called game, is all about untangling the complexity that is produced from the input of conflict, competition, and illogical occurrences into the social dynamic, brought about and made possible because of the friction that naturally takes place between these three factors I'm showing at this moment. But these three elements, they make up the DNA and the blueprint encompassing this discipline, By the way, I did a whole episode breaking all of this down. Here's the link. Check it out once you get finished viewing this episode. But to acquire the status of being a bosszilla, which requires a significant amount of street savviness, just like in poker, where you need to evaluate the range of possible hands that can pop up from a deck of cards, then a practitioner of this craft must be able to evaluate the range of attitudes and personal agendas that can come to light from the back and forth taking place between competition and cooperation transpiring within the social dynamic. And this skill set is established into one's personal psychology from the willing and dealing that a practitioner engages into when interacting with other individuals in 3 particular ways. Check out this brand new image I'm showing. You see, a practitioner dips their toe into this arena and gathers experience at being street savvy by dealing and managing the outcomes produced and made available for on-the-spot analysis by interacting with individuals in these 3 high-powered and compelling type of ways. Therefore, the first interaction on this list that a skilled practitioner will observe is the interaction that others exhibit dependence by showing genuine concern, trust, and good humor. And number 2, a practitioner will observe how others will move away from other people, detachment by downplaying alliances and pushing interpersonal facts and logic. And finally, number 3, a practitioner will observe how others interact and move against people, domination by using power, assertiveness, and exploitation. But hold on, it gets better. Developing street savviness also embodies a practitioner having the ability to distinguish different shaping factors between those 3 guidelines and measurements that I just got through divulging to you. Check out this fresh image. The ability to read the tea leaves and make heads or tails out of different shaping factors, which is the main theme surrounding a given circumstance. But this ability gives a practitioner of this craft the strong foundation and the stripes to become seasoned, which is the power of having a multi-dimensional outlook on things when viewing what's transpiring on this chessboard we call life. On the strength of what I just stated, this ability to become seasoned happens to the degree to which a practitioner can funnel and make practical evaluations from those 3 interactions I shared with you a few moments ago. Through these 6 outcomes that is listed on this image will afford the practitioner the ability to become experienced enough to be considered a bosszilla. Pure and simple understanding of these 6 vital and crucial outcomes grants a practitioner the foresight to take advantage of the pivot points in life. A pivot point is a Wall Street financial concept that is a crucial turning point in the price of something of value. It basically indicates when the price of something of value stops going up or down and reverses in the opposite direction. But pivot points, as it applies to this street philosophy referred to as the concept called gain, has to do with recognizing when current actions is running into some kind of inertia resistance. Therefore, a gameologist can only take advantage of these occurrences when they have accumulated several rounds of what life looks like when life is funneled through these 6 outcomes presented on this image your eyes are currently digesting. And to swing back to that Jeff Bezos entanglement and tie it in with the concept of being seasoned, you see, women primarily value safety and stability, then that should be no surprise to the most of you. But what safety and stability translates into from a street philosopher perspective is that they are realized within a woman's makeup when she senses that the man who she is dealing with is thoroughly experienced. This affords her the luxury to remain in an unassuming and a happy-go-lucky state, where her womanly assets remain kindled and invigorated, which will facilitate that her mood and disposition will be consistently revitalized. For the simple fact that the value of safety and stability, they are mental considerations. And this is also the reason why sex for women begins in their head. Once again, And like I said earlier, this chessboard we call life is saturated with illogical occurrences. And how this plays out in terms of a woman's psychology is the fact that a woman is driven by her needs. So that a bosszilla clearly understands that women is madly attracted to a man who is thoroughly seasoned. She craves to be pursued by such men. But she equally has a disdain for men who is needy and maturity stricken. So the illogical occurrences that is embedded within her needs is the fact that she wants to be pursued, but the pursuer should not be needy. So to manage this conundrum, a man must be seasoned and street savvy. All things considered, you now know that beating one's chest doesn't establish one's credibility to be a boss, and in all actuality puts a man into a position and makes him a candidate to receive the Jeff Bezos treatment. So to counter this, a man must be seasoned and street savvy, because when life hits a turn and takes a different corner and heads in a different direction, a seasoned practitioner should know that such a pivot should be comprehended as merely a change surrounding the theme of a situation, which is the shaping factor, and shouldn't be taken that there needs to be a changing of the practitioner's vision. Now that's checkmate. Thanks for watching. We'll definitely catch you on the next episode.